Welcome to Read and Learn English. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you genuinely want to be fluent in English. Many people learning a new language have encountered a common situation. They can understand conversations, read texts, and even watch movies in the target language, but they struggle greatly with speaking. This barrier can be frustrating and discouraging, especially when the main goal is verbal communication. In this text, we will explore the possible causes of this phenomenon and present some strategies to overcome it. The ability to understand and the ability to speak involve different cognitive and neurological processes. Understanding a language is a receptive skill that depends on the ability to decode information, such as sounds, words, and phrases, to extract meaning. Speaking, on the other hand, is a productive skill that requires cognitive understanding, the selection of correct words, and the physical articulation of sounds. Therefore, it is possible for someone to develop comprehension before achieving fluency in speaking. When we listen to a foreign language, our brain processes a complex sequence of information. First, it identifies sounds and associates them with words we know. Then, these words are combined to form sentences that make sense. Comprehension involves decoding context, intonation, and even the speaker's facial expressions. This happens relatively automatically for native speakers, but for those learning a new language, it's a conscious process that requires effort. Short-term and long-term memory play a crucial role in understanding a new language. Short-term memory allows us to hold on to received information long enough to process and understand it. Long-term memory stores vocabulary, grammar, and past experiences with the language. Regular practice helps transfer information from short-term to long-term memory, making comprehension faster and more effective. Producing language, on the other hand, is an active process that involves several areas of the brain, including the motor cortex, which coordinates the muscles of speech. While comprehension can be a more passive process, speaking requires activating complex neurological circuits that allow the formulation of thoughts and the transformation of those thoughts into words. This explains why speaking in a new language can be so challenging, even when we already understand what is being said. In language learning, receptive skills include reading and listening, while productive skills include speaking and writing. Most learners develop receptive skills before productive ones. This happens because it's easier to recognize words and structures when exposed to them repeatedly, but producing those same structures requires a level of familiarity and confidence that may take longer to develop. Consider a scenario where you're watching a movie in a foreign language. You might understand most of the dialogue and follow the story, but if you were placed in the same situation as the characters, you might not be able to express the same ideas fluently. This illustrates the disparity between comprehension and production. Another example can be found in language classes, where students often perform better in listening activities than in speaking tasks. Communication anxiety is a common issue among language learners. Often, people feel pressured to speak perfectly and end up avoiding opportunities to practice. This anxiety can be heightened in high-pressure situations, like job interviews or public presentations. Understanding that perfection isn't necessary and that everyone makes mistakes can help reduce this anxiety and make speaking practice less stressful. The fear of being judged is another psychological factor that can inhibit speaking in a new language. This fear is often rooted in past experiences, such as being corrected harshly or laughed at for making a mistake. Creating a positive learning environment where mistakes are seen as a natural part of the process can help overcome this fear. Remember, failure is part of success, especially in language learning. Lack of confidence in your language skills can prevent you from speaking, even when you understand the language well. This lack of confidence often manifests as a critical inner voice that questions every word you try to say. To combat this, it's important to focus on your progress and celebrate small victories, like being able to maintain a simple conversation. Confidence comes with practice, and the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. Another factor that can cause insecurity is comparison with native speakers. Many language learners fall into the trap of measuring their progress against the fluency level of a native speaker, which can be demotivating. It's important to remember that native speakers have had years of immersion in the language since childhood. Comparing yourself to them is not fair to yourself. Instead, compare your progress with where you were a few months ago. Overcoming psychological barriers requires both a change in mindset and practice. Practice breathing techniques and mindfulness to calm anxiety before speaking. Find a practice partner or a support group that offers an encouraging environment. Additionally, use positive affirmations to reinforce your confidence. Tell yourself that you're on the right track and that every mistake is a learning opportunity. Another common reason why people understand but cannot speak is the lack of verbal practice. Passive exposure to the language, such as watching videos, listening to music, or reading, strengthens comprehension, but speaking requires active practice. Without regular opportunities to converse, speaking skills remain underdeveloped. Engaging in real conversations, even if short and simple, is crucial for improving verbal fluency. Often, the difficulty in speaking arises from a lack of practice opportunities. In some cases, it may be difficult to find people to converse with in the language you're learning. To overcome this, look for language partners online, join conversation groups, or even take lessons with tutors. Another idea is to record yourself speaking about different topics and then listen to identify areas for improvement. Deliberate practice is a technique used by many to improve their skills more effectively. It involves focused practice on specific areas you want to improve, such as pronunciation, fluency, or vocabulary. Instead of practicing generally, focus on one aspect of speaking at a time. For example, you might spend an entire week focusing on improving your intonation, practicing sentences with different tones of voice. Integrating speaking practice into your daily routine can be an effective way to improve. Try incorporating the language you're learning into your daily activities, such as describing aloud what you're doing, thinking out loud, or even singing songs in the target language. Small daily practices, accumulated over time, can make a significant difference in your speaking ability. It's natural to feel discomfort when practicing speaking in a new language, especially in the beginning. However, facing this discomfort is crucial for progress. Each time you put yourself in a situation where you need to speak, even if you feel nervous or unsure, you're training your brain to better handle these situations in the future. Gradually, the discomfort decreases, and confidence increases. To improve speaking ability, it is important to create a safe and non-judgmental learning environment. This may include practicing with friends or language partners, using conversation apps, or participating in online discussion groups. Another effective strategy is imitation, listening to and repeating phrases and dialogues, focusing on intonation and pronunciation. Additionally, practicing thinking out loud or narrating daily activities in the target language can help transfer comprehension to verbal production. The shadowing technique is a popular strategy where you repeat what a native speaker is saying, almost simultaneously. This helps improve intonation, rhythm, and fluency. Start with slower audios, and as you feel more confident, move on to faster conversations. Repetition and imitation are key to internalizing speech patterns. Creating simulated scenarios can be a helpful way to practice speaking. For example, if you're preparing for a job interview, practice answering common questions you might be asked. If you're preparing to travel, simulate conversations you might have at a restaurant or hotel. This not only helps practice speaking but also prepares you mentally for real situations. Speech recognition technologies, like voice assistants, Siri, Google Assistant, or language learning apps, can be useful tools for practicing speaking. Improving speech in a new language is a gradual process that requires patience and consistency. It is important to consider that mistakes are a natural part of learning and that every attempt to speak is a step toward fluency. Celebrating small progress, such as being able to maintain a basic conversation, can help maintain motivation and continue progress.